In the last video, we examined the ways to display many-to-one relationships in the application user interface. In this video, I will show how to work with one-to-many and many-to-many relationships. To begin with, let us consider one-to-many relationships using the order and the order line entities as an example. The order contains a collection of order lines, which implies that the order entity has one-to-many relationships with the order line entity. The relationship type is composition, which means that the order lines are created and edited only as a part of the order. Let's create the order line entity with a minimal amount of fields. Define the lines attribute for the order, which contains the collection of order lines. To create a collection attribute, select an attribute on the opposite side of the relationship, which defines the relationship. If such attribute does not exist, it can be created here. Studio suggests adding the new attribute to existing screens. Generate the scripts for initializing the database tables and run the database update. Next, let's make sure the new attribute has been appended to the Order with Customer view. Now, let's generate standard screens for the order line entity. Since the list of order lines should be displayed within the order editor only, you can create only the order line editor. Open the screen layout of the order editor. Switch to the Data Sources tab. As you can see, the main data source of the screen contains a nested collection data source, lines.ds. It provides lines attribute contents, which is a collection of order line entities. Switch to the Layout tab. The table named Lines Table is linked with the lines.ds data source and contains create, edit, and remove buttons associated with the actions of the same name. Start the application. Create a new order, fill in the fields, add several order lines, and save the changes. Since the type of relationship between the order and the order line is composition, the order lines appear in the database only when the order is committed. This can be demonstrated using the following example. Reopen the order and edit the line. Now, click Cancel in the order editor and reopen it once again. As you can see, the changes to the order line have not been saved. Next, let's consider many-to-many relationships, using the example of the customer and customer group entities as the example. A customer can belong to several groups. The group, in turn, contains several customers. The type of the relationship is the association, which means that the customers and groups are edited independently. Let's create the customer group entity. Define the name string attribute and then the customer attribute, which is the association to the customer entity with many-to-many cardinality. Let's assume that the owning side of the association is the customer group, so create the inverse attribute on the reverse side of the relationship in the mapped by field. Now, generate the database update scripts. Stop the application server and start the database update. Next, create a view for the customer, which includes the customer group's attribute. Define the instance name for the customer group entity as well. Similarly, create a view for the customer group, which includes the customer's attribute. Recreate the standard screens for the customer and create them for the customer group, selecting the newly created views for editor screens. Open the Customer Group editor and switch to the Data Sources tab. As you can see, the main data source of the screen has a nested collection data source, Customers DS. It provides customer attributes content, which is a collection of customers. Switch to the Layout tab. The Customers table is linked to the Customers DS data source and contains the Add and Remove button associated with the actions with the same name. These actions enable managing customers for the given group. The customer editor is similar, except for the fact that we cannot manage groups for the customer. All we can do is view the groups he belongs to. The association can be managed only from the owning side. In this case, it is a customer group. Let's start the application server. We already have several customers in the system. Let's create one more. Now create a number of groups and add several customers to each of them. Now, if you open the customer editor, you will be able to see the groups he belongs to. So, we have demonstrated working with collections of related entities. For better understanding, you can investigate another demo project on this subject, which source code is available on Cuba GitHub. Thank you for watching.